Alright, so this is going to be a quick video on my HPA G&G SR25. Quite a bit of work went into this, more than I was actually expecting to do, but so far I'm really in love with it. So base model is a G&G GR25, pretty much SR25. It's basically a 7.62 version of the AR-15. The SR-25 was made by Knight's Armament and is used by the military for a designated marksman role. So I can go over externals first. It has a 12-inch, I'm pretty sure, free flow Picatinny rail. Has a detachable slip-on suppressor. This suppressor actually was hollow. There was no foam. Pretty much the barrel comes into about like here, and then from here there's this like a spacer that supports the suppressor onto the end of the barrel. So from here to here is sort of empty space. Stock, it's just like there's just this small metal tube. So I tried ways to remove the spacer to get access, but I couldn't. This does unscrew, the base piece here unscrews, but it's just, I couldn't find any way that I could remove that. It's like a plastic spacer. So without damaging it, I could find no way to remove it. So what I did, if you see the electrical tape, I just took a Sawzall and I just cut it here, and then I added both foam and then rolled up like a roll like this of cardboard to space out the foam discs, just so there's more area for air to expand. Is it any different than a complete foam? I don't really know. But I just thought, hey, it does make it more quiet because it's an HPA, so it does help. But yeah, so there's just foam discs and spacers, and then I just used electrical tape to put it all back together. You got a fake gas block, which the suppressor locks onto. As you can see, these grooves. Flip up front sight. There is no rear sight that is included with the gun. I have a unknown brand Harris type bipod. I got a Pinty 4 to 16, I believe. Yeah, 4 to 16 by 40 AOL scope. It's pretty much like a mildot scope. It does illuminate red, green, and blue, but I don't really care. What I really like about these scopes are the turret caps, or turrets actually. They have numbers, so you can zero it and put the numbers back to 0, like you can see. I haven't really zeroed the scope yet, so it might be a little off, but it allows you to do external zeroing without having to take an end cap off, having to use like a flat screwdriver or an Allen key or whatever. You can literally on the fly zero it. So if you even want to go the extra step in airsoft and you have strong winds, you could dial in for windage if you really wanted to. For the elevation / distance turret, you can do the same thing. So if you're really going really super long ranges and you don't want to over hop the BBs, you could use this if you really wanted to adjust for the distance, but probably never gonna do that. Windage maybe, but I just like it. One, it looks cool, and it is functional too. So you got your G&G trademarks, which I really hate. I liked, I think the first generation of GR25s that G&G made, they had more realistic trademarks to the Knight's armament, but very hard to find those. It's a semi-only, so no full auto, which is great for DMRs. For certain fields, they only allow semi-automatic guns to be DMR class, or certain ops. I am missing the bolt catch, but the way it is now, it doesn't really matter. It'd just be aesthetics. But as the AEG, the bolt, you could pull back all the way and lock it and everything. But now that I have an HPA, the dust cover actually has been modified to fit with some of the electronic wiring. So, but small feature, not needed, don't really care. You see that I have the hose coming out the back of the grip instead of coming straight out. I just like how it looks a little bit cleaner. You don't just have a hose coming out, coming down, so you have a little more lower profile, especially if you're in the prone and you like to hug the ground a lot further. You're not going to be kinking this line. It's not going to be really pushing up into the engine, and might cause issues, but I just ran it off the back so it looks a little cleaner. Full buttstock, houses the FCU, and I have like a huge, not a huge, but a decent size battery that I use. So basically more than enough battery for a day. I could probably run this thing almost 3 or 4 days probably before running out of battery. But I can also put a secondary battery for the tracer unit, which I just sort of put in just because, well, why not? Tracer DMR. So I'm gonna pull back the charging handle. It's not spring loaded anymore. So because of the wires, which I'll get to in a second, but you have a regular version 2 gearbox. This is a SR25 AEG when it began with a regular version 2 gearbox. I know some of the other brands like A&K, and I think maybe Classic Army maybe have a version like 2.5, but this one uses regular version 2. So to use a normal M4 hop-up unit, you need to get is a 3D printed spacer that I got off of Shapeways. It's like, I think $11 in total with shipping and everything. But you need that spacer because the stock hop-up unit is kind of trash. It's like an elongated M4 hop-up unit to adapt from a version 2 to a 7.62 AR body. Since the AR body's longer for 7.62, one of two things has to happen. Either the gearbox has to be longer, like a version 2.5, or the hop-up unit has to be longer. For G&G in this case, they made the hop-up unit longer. Creates lots of air seal issues and stuff like that. So anyway, I upgraded to a MAXX Pro ME tracer hop-up unit. So far I'm really liking it. It has lots. It has very good O-ring seal. Very good. I get like maybe a 3 to 4 FPS deviation per shot. So it's just phenomenal. It has these LEDs on both sides of the hop-up. So you have 2 LEDs here, and then on the other side of the hop-up unit you have another 2. And the reason I had to modify the fake bolt and charging handle is because those wires run along this side of the body, and the fake bolt goes around to both sides of the gearbox. So without pinching the wires, I had to cut this in half. I'll show it more when I get inside. For bucking, I'm running a Prommy purple that's been sanded and shaved for a flat hop. I have a Namazu red hard flat hop nub, and for inner barrel I have a PDI 6.01 509 millimeter. You can use up to a 520 millimeter in here. That's what the stock inner was a 520. It was just hard to find a 520 in 6.01 that's from like a good brand company. So, but 509 you're gonna have no issue. The spacer at the end of the outer barrel, the spacer that supports the inner barrel, comes to about here, so you can use a 509 no issue. You're not gonna have to worry about it wobbling around. So let me take this gun apart, kind of, since I have those two wires inside. And let me actually flip the gun over so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the two wires for the hop-up unit. Let's get this out. There we go. Come on. So you have this side where the fake bolt looks, and on this side would be sort of the other half of this fake bolt. So what I had to do was I had to cut it, and then I also had to take a I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but a small screw, and I drilled a hole into the charging handle, and drill a hole into the actual fake bolt, and just bolted them together. So it covers up the hop up and the internals and the spacer, so it looks a little cleaner. And also when you have the tracer unit on, you don't see so much of the glow, because when you have that tracer unit on, it's just so bright. It comes through that opening, the ejection port, and really looks funky. So this helps mitigate some of that light that comes out. But since on the other side there was where the spring and the spring guide rod went in, so there's no more spring loaded action, and so I got rid of that. So it's just pretty much here for looks and to keep dirt out of that area. But that's what I did. If you didn't have a tracer hop-up unit, you could use this stock configuration. So that's a PolarStar Jack. What you'll need is a G&G GR25 nozzle, which they do make, and a standard version 2 trigger board. Quick note, I did try to use this tracer unit with the PolarStar FCU using a amped custom MAXX tracer to FCU wire harness. Not 100% sure what the exact issue was, but it ended up shorting out some of the LEDs in the tracer unit and shorting out the MCU, or the secondary port on the FCU. So I was using an 11.1, which I'm being told is not recommended. I've been using 11.1 in this PolarStar Jack without the tracer just fine. I guess just plugging the tracer in and having the tracer run off the FCU with the 11.1 just sort of fried something. The FCU still works, still fires, just you can't really plug anything in like the tracer, and the tracer didn't really like that too. So this is not the amped custom wire harness. This is the wire harness that comes stock with the MAXX tracer unit. This wire it has, you can't see it, but further in the stock it has like has some circuit boards in there for like power conversion or power regulating, so the LEDs don't burn out. The AMP custom wire harness did not have those. It was just a straight wire connection, so I think that's where the issue was. That and maybe using 11.1. Like I said, I don't really know the exact issue, but this is the stock wire that comes with the hop-up unit or the tracer. This is meant to connect to your, I believe, the motor terminals on the AEG, I believe. I'm pretty sure. So At the end of this cable, they're just two little eyelet connectors. I guess you screw onto your motor. Since it's HPA, it has no motor. So I thought I could get away with using amp custom, but I guess it just doesn't like 11.1 lipos. So for now, I have plenty of room in the stock for a second battery anyway. I plug a 9-volt battery or connect a 9-volt battery to these wires, and it brines. A couple of the LEDs are kind of burnt out, so it's not maximum brightness, but with only 2 fully functional LEDs, these BBs come out really bright anyway, so still good. But like I said, if you don't have a full stock version, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sure with the SR25K and a PolarStar, like the FCU and the battery for an FCU is pretty small, so I guess you could use 2 small PolarStar batteries to run both the PolarStar and the tracer. If you really want a tracer DMR like I did. But this was more just for shits and giggles and fun. I have no clue if the BBs will even still glow at the distances I'm just going to be shooting at DMR. But if I tune this down for like indoor field use, it'll probably be some fun kicks. But yeah, let's see what else. Getting this moth bolt back in place is kind of a bitch now, but like a real AR, the charging handle has these nubs that fit into a slot in the upper receiver, unlike most. There we go. Put that in. Open up the back of the stock so I can pull the wires tight. There we go. So, okay, here is FCU. Oh, another thing, if you use the full stock version and you want to have access to your FCU, you're gonna want to buy the 18-inch FCU wire harness, because that's how much it pulls out. With a regular wire harness, it's gonna be in here, and if you want to do any adjustments to your engine, you're gonna have to take the stock off, and it's kind of annoying. Here are the wires for the tracer unit. You can see those little eyelet connectors for an AEG motor. And then along here, there's, I think, 2 separate circuit boards that help with power regulation. Okay. You want to make sure that these wires are tucked up towards the top of the receiver, not towards the bottom, because you want it to clear up here. You don't want it to be down here. Just slide it on. Make sure the hop-up unit is in the right space. Doing this all one-handed, so it's kind of a pain. There we go. I'm just making sure that the wire is properly, and while you're putting it on, you just want to pull some of the slack out the line. Here's inside. I really like this feature, especially with the DMR. I'm running 50 round mid caps, and this is a BB retention. So when you pull out the mag, the BBs just don't fall out the hop-up unit. This latch actually keeps the BBs in. If you do want to clear the gun, you just stick your hand or your finger into the mag well, push down on it, and the BBs will fall out. Okay. Make sure I'm not pinching anything, which I kind of am. You can see that wire. Just want to pull it a little. There we go. All this sucks one-handed. Get in there. Everything is together fine. I don't know what that gap is about. I'm gonna take a quick second to do this with 2 hands. Something's not right. Something's pushing up. See what's going on. Something's hanging up. This would be a lot easier if you don't have the wire tracer unit. This is just a pain, but pretty much that's it. Kind of need 2 hands to put this thing back together, but that's my HPA GR25. I'm really loving this thing. I got it set right now at 120 PSI. It's shooting about 520 feet per second with a 0.2. My plans are to wait for PolarStar to release the Kythera, which is their new full mechanical HPA system. It fires from a closed bolt. It has pretty much like a 2-stage trigger, so very tactile trigger, which would be nice for a DMR. I believe they're going to be trying to release a select fire one, so you'll be like, I think, one of the first full mechanical HPA systems with full auto. I mean, besides that, I don't know if Daytona and Tippmann to have full auto with a full mechanical system. But yeah, I'm gonna try that. I mean, batteries, I don't like using batteries in my guns. I'm a full mechanical kind of guy. So, plus it fires from a closed bolt. It's gonna be pretty damn cheap because it's full mechanical. So, it has a lot of wins in my book. But that's my plan. Once they release that, I might get that as soon as I can. But please like and subscribe.